What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Universal Teas. It's the People's Podcast with your girl Toya, and this episode is called Elevate Yourself Part 2. I gave y'all Part 1 last week, and that episode was what I called a spirit episode because I didn't write any notes. I just gave y'all the message that was on my spirit. And so this time I'm coming to y'all a little bit more prepared. I did write some show notes, still very much led by the spirit, but I definitely have talking points that I want to hit. Just to give y'all a little synopsis of what's going on, child. There's currently rain, like a little storm going on, and I'm sitting by the window. So if you happen to hear a little rumble, everything is fine. It's just raining where I am. And quite frankly, you know, it might feel like a little background music or whatever. So if you hear a little rumble in the jungle, it is storming. And honestly, that makes me feel more calm and more apted to do and say what it is that I need to say. I love a good storm. And so the weather is calming out and turn the lights off. I lit me a candle. So I'm fully ready to get into this episode. As a reminder, it is still Mental Health Awareness Month. Is it another week in this month or is this the last week? This is the last week of Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we are still in the Yourself series. And to be completely honest, the way I'm looking at topics that I want to talk about will probably be still in the Yourself series into the first or second week of June. I don't know. Because I do have another episode that I wanted to give y'all called, child, what did I say? What was the name? Hold on, y'all. I'm looking for the name of the episode. I still wanted to do an episode called Correct Yourself. And then I think that was it for the Yourself series. So yes, next week, the first week of June, I will be doing an episode called Correct Yourself. And then that is how we're going to wrap up our Yourself series. Or not. You never know. But that's the goal. That's the plan. That's the blueprint. Okay. So getting into this episode called Elevate Yourself. When we are thinking about self-awareness, learning ourselves, getting closer to ourselves, something that came to me is elevation, right? Going higher and doing more. And one way, and I'm going to go to the definition of the word elevate and break that down for you all in a second, but I always like to give my personal why to episodes and how they come about for me. So a part of my self-awareness journey and a way in which that I am elevating myself is owning all of my truth, operating in honesty, and y'all, like, this is the most uncomfortable thing because my truth isn't all pretty. My truth isn't comfortable. Being honest sometimes makes for having to have difficult conversations or makes for me being wrong. You know what I'm saying? And having to own up to that. And a lot of my honesty also is immediately followed by accountability. Did I say that right? Accountability. And so that part is sometimes uncomfortable because it's easy to be held accountable or to take on acknowledgments for things that you do well. But I've been in a space as of late where I've had to honor my truth, name my truth, and still be held accountable for maybe mishandling a situation, a person, passing judgment prematurely or through emotion that wasn't even fully analyzed. And that takes a different type of courage for me. And so I am elevating my mind to not see those moments of my truth as an attack or as a shot at my character or to say that I shouldn't grow or to take on the role of not being good or, you know what I mean? I get very critical of myself, as I've said before. And so when I'm elevating myself mentally, that's me not being hard on myself, like naming the truth, taking accountability, changing what needs to change, forgiving myself and moving on. Like, I think we forget that it's okay to move on from certain things. Like, you're not a perfect person. You're going to mess up. You've probably messed up before. You are only, and this is something that I don't think that I'm the only one that struggles with accepting is we have to understand that even when people grow, right? Give yourself and others the opportunity to grow, but also understanding that at each phase in our lives, we are always only doing what we think is best for us at that time. And knowing that we grow and change, you can then reflect like, yo, I did this, that was fucked up, but I've grown, I've changed, and really live in that though. You can say you've changed, you can say you've grown, you can say that you've elevated your mindset, but do your actions align with that growth? You don't have to hold yourself hostage to the mistakes you made in the past. You don't have to hold yourself hostage to when you were doing things when you really had no idea what the better option was. So accountability and honesty, I feel like go hand in hand for me lately. I don't know if that's your story, but mine. But we're going to get into this episode because now that I started off giving y'all all my business. So again, this episode is called Elevate Yourself. And so I looked up the definition of elevate, and there were two of them. The latter one, though, is the one that I'm going to go off of. I'll read both, though. So the first definition of elevate is to raise or lift up to a higher position. Okay? The definition of elevate is to raise or lift up to a higher position. Meaning, we grow, we ascend, we go higher, we do more, we become more. But the other definition that came immediately after that one, I felt like had a little bit more depth, and I was able to go in and kind of unpack this and then go from there. That second definition of elevate is to raise to a more important or impressive level. To raise to a more important or impressive level. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, we know that it means to ascend or go higher to something that is more important, but the word impressive stood out to me. So I think the word not oppressive, child. Did I say oppressive this whole time? I mean, impressive, not oppressive. We're not talking about things being oppressive. That's going to confuse me. Impressive. So to raise to a more important or impressive level. But what does it really mean to impress? Because I think impression can be subjective. Like it can be specific, or is it objective? Oh Lord. I think the word impressive, or something being impressive to someone, can depend on the person. So I went and looked up what the word impress means. And so the word impress means to make someone feel admiration and respect. So when I think about even that word impressive, I was like, okay, so we know what it means to admire someone, right? To see the good in them, to think that they are good and have a great feeling about someone or something. But the word respect means to have a deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. And so knowing that the word elevate means to raise to an impressive standard, one of which that has to do with admiration and respect. And respect really having to do with our abilities, our qualities, and our achievements, that made me get a more clear understanding of how we actually elevate and in what ways. So if we're talking about our abilities, our qualities, and our achievements, when I think about elevation, I think about the ways in which we look at what we already are. We look at the skills that we've been gifted, the qualities that we have, the things that we are able to do well, our abilities, and maybe not even, because now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe we're not even just looking at our abilities in the positive. Sometimes we have abilities that can be negative, but when we're talking about elevation, we're trying to move those to a way in which, or to a standard that is impressive or higher. So you want to focus on those good things, but you can also have abilities and qualities that are not good. But for the sake of this episode being about elevation, I want us to focus on those positive abilities that we have. We have great qualities, we have abilities and achievements. And this can be things that we have already achieved or things that we hope to achieve, and those be our guiding light in the way in which we do things. So when I say to elevate yourself, that one, we're talking about self, things being internal. We know that this is the year of self-awareness for us. And so when you are elevating yourself, you are moving yourself in several different capacities to a way in which that you admire yourself, in a way in which that you honor your capabilities, your qualities, and in a way in which that you are aligning with the achievements that you want to accomplish. Okay. So this then leads me to think about, okay, so if we're talking about elevating ourselves, what are some ways that we hear the word elevation? And I think we know that we can elevate our minds, our ways of thinking. And so to give y'all an example from my life, I just told you all that a way in which that I have to elevate my mind isn't necessarily that coaching that we give ourselves of like, you can do it, you got this. I know that I can do great things, but me elevating my mind on my journey is elevating myself to always operate in truth, always operate in honesty, to name what is, to live in the facts of what exists. That's me elevating myself mentally and not allowing those facts or that accountability or my truth stifle me or make me feel stuck or make me feel offended, right? So me elevating my thinking, me elevating my mind is me literally opening my mind to all that is true and honest. Because that is where in which you can truly move through the world without roadblocks, without being worried about setbacks, taking a huge toll on you. And so you really have to think about, if I want to elevate my mind, and we are always in a opportunity where we can elevate ourselves mentally, in what ways do you need to elevate your mind? Think about that. Write it down. Are you easily offended? Are you not reading enough? What are you consuming on your phone on a daily basis? What kind of music are you listening to? What kind of conversations are you having with people? So when you are elevating your mind, and remember, when we are elevating something, we are moving it to a more important or impressive level. Are you impressed with the way that you think? Are you impressed with the things that you are consuming? You want to be able to elevate your mind so that it expands and it grows, and you can feed it more and do more and see the world in a different light. How do you need to elevate your mind? I feel like me living in, or not walking in, living in, honoring in, and speaking in my truth, that kept me bound mentally. I couldn't fully open myself up because there was a point in my life when I wasn't living honestly and truthfully, where I was always on guard, because what if somebody found this out? What if somebody knew this about me? What if, this came to the light? I was afraid of the light because I was so busy trying to hide what was dark. And don't get confused. When I say walking in and honoring truth, I'm not saying put all your business on Facebook and on social media. I'm saying being able to sit with yourself and truly say, like, yeah, that happened. Apologizing and giving actions that support that apology to people who may need it. Being honest about how hard you work. Yes, we want the good things. Yes, we want to achieve and do more and glitz and glamour and all of this. But are you ready to honor yourself in a way that makes you own up to your faults, so that you can then have the space in the room and the capacity to step into what is greatness for you? Self-defined greatness, self-defined elevation, self-defined impressiveness and importantness. You know what I mean? How are you honoring your mind? How are you expanding your mental space? Are you stepping outside of your comfort zone with food? You know what I mean? Well, you might have, baby, if you are still in your 30s and you only are ordering chicken tenders at every restaurant you go to, like, expand your mind. You don't even know what you don't like. You don't even know, because you have been so used to what it is that you've been presented with. You haven't even allowed your mind to expand. And we might think that, yes, I'm filling my mind up. I'm doing this. I'm reading books. I'm following this inspirational person on TikTok. But in what ways are you applying? Expansion isn't just about being filled up. Because you can fill up a t-shirt, a pair of jeans, and they still be too tight. Expansion is about literally opening. Not just being pushed to your boundaries and pushed to your limits. That's what happened when you squeezing into tight clothes and tight shoes. Yeah, you in there. Yeah, you're filled up. But you're not really allowing yourself to be open. You know what I mean? You have to expand yourself. Don't be forced into expansion, because that can sometimes be uncomfortable. Another way in which that we can elevate ourselves is our bodies. You know, in what way are you honoring your body? Thinking about the food that you eat, thinking about the ways in which you exercise. How do you feel in your body? Sometimes I'm in a place now where I'm open to different diets. You know what I'm saying? Different food options. And my relationship with food is changing because I want to feel good in my body. I want to be elevated, meaning impressed. I want to be impressed by my health. I want to be impressed by myself when I look in the mirror. I don't want to have to look in the mirror and convince myself that this little pouch is cute. I don't want to have to, and I know we're in a space where, and trust me, I'm not body shaming. I'm just being for real. Like, you know that you are unhealthy, but you look in the mirror and say, like, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. I don't care about being, out of shape or overweight. And I'm not saying that you can't love yourself at every phase, but you know good and well it ain't gonna hurt you to hit that treadmill for about 10 minutes every other day. Okay? That's elevation. Elevate your relationship with food. I can't not eat no meat. I can't give this up. You're being held hostage. You're being held prisoner to something that may be destroying your body. And I'm not telling everybody to be vegan or vegetarian because, baby, I just got done eating me some beef ribs after not eating meat for like 2-3 weeks. But I just want you all to understand that elevation is about opening yourself up to the possibility of honoring your body. Be celibate. Go on a juice cleanse. Go on a smoothie cleanse. Give up meat for a week or 2. See how your body feels. You don't even know what your body feels like in its natural and most elevated space, in its highest form, because you haven't challenged yourself enough to do so. We need to also learn how to elevate how we communicate. And baby, here go another instance where I'm telling my own business. This is something that on this journey to truth, honesty, and accountability for myself, I am pushing myself to learn how to communicate better, to have the courage to communicate better, to communicate clearly. I can have all the thoughts, and baby, tell me if it's just me. I can have I could run a whole script in my head about a conversation I want to have, child. If I want to give somebody a piece of my mind, I have it in my head ready, practice, rehearse. But when the time comes, when the opportunity comes for me to communicate, I don't do it well. I freeze, I get stuck. I'm afraid of the other person's reaction. And saying that out loud also makes me realize that some of us may struggle with communication because we are too concerned about the person's reaction versus just naming our truth or asserting our boundaries. And I'll say that again. Some of us saying that we are struggling to communicate are actually just too concerned with the other person's response or reaction. Or, child, what did I just say? We're too concerned with their response or reaction. Or, y'all, I really forgot what the other thing was I said. Either way, speak your truth and don't be worried about the reaction, because if it is the truth, literally the truth, and not just an emotional based response to something, but if this is your truth and you know it's your truth, say what you got to say. And there's a way to always do it respectfully, and I've quoted my dear friend time and time again, but my friend Kavi will say, words unsaid are left screaming in your head. And baby, I know what it feels like to live that. I know what it feels like to have things on your chest and not say it because you don't want to come off rude. You don't want to come off as being standoffish. You don't want to seem like you mad or you feel a way about a certain person. But you have to understand that elevating the way that you communicate is going to create so much space for not only you to say and live in your truth, but to invite other people around you who live in theirs. You know what I'm saying? If you're openly naming what a problem is, what an issue is, you get to see how somebody else operates. Because if you're operating in truth, you're only going to want to vibrate with people that are also operating in truth. So if you are naming your truth to someone and they don't have the capacity to receive it without offense, without anger, without empathy, you may just be giving yourself the opportunity to lose someone who's not for you anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because clearly they're hiding from their truth and you're trying to live in yours. So speaking your truth, and my favorite poem, Our Deepest Fear says, and as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. So the more that you tell your truth, the more truth that you're going to acquire, that you're going to attract. You know what I'm saying? And when we talk about moving back to the things and the ways in which we can elevate, you can also elevate the way that you work. We all can say, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to start a business. I've always wanted to open my own school. I've always wanted to be a wife, a husband, a life partner. I've always wanted to own a home. But you know good and well that the work that you do does not reflect that. I have all these dreams, y'all, for what I see and what I want Universal Teas to become, the ways that I wanted to branch off into different companies and different assets and the team that I want to build, the merchandise I want to sell. But I had to be honest with myself and understand that the way that I work is not of an elevated level. I've allowed my mind to expand and to think big and to be open to possibilities, but I have not been doing the work in the capacity at which I see myself. And don't forget, when we talk about elevation, that has to do with being at an impressive level, and to be impressive means to make someone feel admiration and respect. If I'm trying to feel respect for myself, that means that I am thinking about my abilities, my qualities, and my achievements. I haven't been working for the achievements that I want. So am I really ready to elevate? You can want something all day, all night. You can put a plan in motion. You can set a plan on the table. You can call up some people and make some connections, but you can't get around the work. Your achievements are so grand, but your work is mediocre. Your achievements are grand, but your communication skills are piss poor. You can't want something. You can't just see something for yourself and it happens. You have to elevate, meaning raise to a higher position, the quality, consistency, and the level at which you are working. Elevate yourself. Elevate the way that you work. Elevate the way that you communicate. And communication, going back to that, can also mean elevate how you ask for help. Some of us thinking like, oh, we love a good struggle story. And I don't know, what is it about that? Like, we almost feel like we have to have a struggle story in order to be like effective or successful to other people. And so when I talk about elevating your communication, that means saying, yo, I need help. Who can I call on? Yo, I need help. What book do I need to read? Yo, I need help. Let me go on YouTube. Let me actually subscribe to this person's newsletter. Let me actually subscribe to this YouTube channel because it's beneficial to me. Let me actually communicate. Let me actually go to this networking event, put myself out there, meet somebody who's doing better than me. In what ways are you putting yourself in a higher position? Sometimes putting yourself in a higher position does not mean that you're the boss. We have this real messed up. We think that when we say elevate, it just means to go up on the ladder. Sometimes elevating means to network, or means to go and sit next to somebody who is higher than you. That's also elevating your position. That's the elevation of the mind. That's the elevation of the communication, not just the physical elevation of being the CEO, being the boss, being the founder. It means being the student until it is your time to be fully prepared to step into your destiny. The way that you work has to elevate as well. It has to be impressive to you. It has to be a higher position than what you're doing. It has to be a higher position than wanting. Okay? Working and wanting are not the same. Having the abilities, the skills, and the talents are not the same as living out those skills, abilities, and talents. Elevate your work. Elevate the way that you work. This can just mean being more consistent. Here I am again telling my business. The way that I elevate my work is not by the quality of work that I do. It's the consistency at which I perform at that quality, that level of quality. Me elevating my work is being consistent at one thing and seeing it through. I have the skills. I have the vision. I have the capabilities. I've made achievements. I've checked boxes, but I haven't been consistent. I have not been disciplined. I have not really been honest. I've been going praises, knowing that you really ain't did the work. And maybe it's just me, but I'm just saying you have to, again, we're talking about self-awareness. We are elevating ourselves, not elevating enough for somebody else to say we did good. You know what I'm saying? Another way in which that we elevate ourselves is, and I talked about this a little bit, so I won't go too much into depth, but how we receive feedback and respond to criticism. How you receive feedback and respond to criticism has so much to do with us elevating ourselves, raising ourselves to that higher level, making ourselves feel admired and respected within our own right, having that deep admiration for ourselves based on our abilities, based on the qualities that we possess and our achievements that we have or that we seek to fulfill. We are going to have to be open to feedback, because that is the way that you truly grow. Now, I'm only talking to my people who really want to elevate in every way, shape, form, or fashion. You have to be open to feedback. And here's a note. Right? Because everybody's going to give criticism. We are in a day and age, social media, everybody love to go to the comments and see the feedback or the criticisms on certain things. And that's always going to exist. But be selective in who you receive feedback from, who you are allowing to criticize you. Find those people that you trust to be honest with you, because we're also working on elevating ourselves and our honesty and our truth. But find those people. And I'm not even just saying like your closest friends. Maybe experts in it. Like, there are people who I probably don't know on a personal level, but when I look at them professionally, when I look at how they grind, how they acquire success, I would trust going to them with a project that I have and getting their feedback, because their work speaks for themselves. Their work shows me that they've done what they needed to do, that they've elevated their mind, their communication. This is another form of elevating communication, finding the people who are allowed to give you feedback, who you trust to criticize you, and actually taking it and applying. Take it, analyze, and apply, because every bit of feedback and criticism doesn't necessarily have to alter the way in which you move. But finding trusted people, and I'm not just talking about your friends, because sometimes you don't even need to get criticism and feedback from your friends, because they're going to be biased. Because your friends might not even be experts in what it is that you're trying to do. Your friend is there to support you, right? I could go to my friend and ask, like, friend, I want to do this book. What do you think? And they're going to be like, yeah, go ahead and do it. That's not the same feedback that I would need from somebody who's written multiple best-selling books. You know? So don't get finding people who will give you criticism and feedback effectively to people who support you. Those are very, very different entities. So elevate the way that you respond to feedback. Actually read it. Have people write you feedback. That's why I want y'all to leave me reviews on my podcast, because I genuinely want to know how I can grow. What is it that is going well? What is it that may need to change? What are some things that I need to consider? And we need to find out who we trust to do that. And I trust y'all to do that. So make sure you leave a review for this episode, and go back and leave some reviews for older episodes. But getting back to the point, when we elevate, I want you all to understand that this episode is called Elevate Yourself. It is not your responsibility to always try to elevate the whole group. I'm going to take the whole hood with me. I'm going to put the hood on my back. I got my family. I got this, that, and the other. I'm doing this for my baby. I'm doing admirable. Yes. But Your elevation should honor your abilities, your qualities, your achievements, the things that you've been assigned to do. You. You have to elevate yourself. It should be a reflection of the achievements that you wish to have. It should be a reflection of the importance and the impressiveness that you've assigned to yourself, that you've deemed worthy of your own attention. And it should be in alignment with what you want to achieve. And so when I say what you want to achieve, I want you to really think about that, because we can sometimes lose sight of what it is that we want for ourselves because we're so busy trying to do it for the gang, do it for our family, do it for our kids, do it for a better life for my grandkids. We are so caught up in, and this is not bad at all, because I'm not telling you to negate the mindset that I'm about to give, but we are in a season where everybody's talking about breaking generational curses. I have to do this so that my great grandkids never have to see it again. You're so focused on breaking a generational curse that you are not breaking into consistency right now. You're never going to break a generational curse if you're not consistently honest with yourself, if you're not consistently elevating your mindset, if you're not consistently working on your body, if you're not consistently communicating well, owning your truth, working through your traumas, being honest about your own life. You can't break a generational curse if you are inconsistent with the work that you are doing that is right in front of you to get there. If you're worried about doing it with, for, and because of everyone else, you're stifling your own growth because you're too worried about bearing the burden of other people. And yes, I'm saying burden because we make everything so outwardly, so much about everything outside of us, that we then start to just fall into this cycle of hustle without intention. What is it? Define what it is that you want to achieve for you and make that the reason you're consistent. I need to do this so that I can have a clear mind. I need to do this so that I can make myself proud. I need to do this so that I can sleep better at night. I need to do this so that I can buy myself a new car. I need to do this so that I can afford to buy myself a new house. I need to do this so that I can go into a store and buy me whatever I want first. Because if you make that hustle a habit for you, or not hustle, if you make that consistency and that discipline and that work ethic and that elevation of life in general for you, everything else for everyone else will come after. And I think in the last episode, was it the last episode? One of these episodes where I really talked about it was know yourself. You really have to know things for you. You have to understand things for you. Because the true measure of someone who's mastered a skill is someone who is able to teach it to someone else. So, and that's the thing that if you are familiar with education, or when I would teach, there would be times when towards the end of a unit, I would literally have a student go up and teach a lesson for me. Because I did the work to learn and fully understand what it was that I was teaching, I was then able to pass that on. And we talk about generational curses. I was able to fully explain that concept, that skill, that learning standard, that thing to my entire class or to that student, to the point where I was then able to sit down and trust that it would go well. And trust that as someone who I taught, it was the whole concept of teaching a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. You have to do that with your life. Learn you enough. Learn what you need enough. Do the work enough so that at some point you can sit back, show somebody how it's done, and they can do it without even trying. Elevate yourself. Okay? Now, that's the point that I was making when I said, in order to be effective in your elevation, it has to be about you and for only you first. That's going to be difficult for my parents, especially them first time parents with them new babies. because everything is for your baby. Everything is to save your marriage. Everything is to make your mama proud, to make your kids proud, to have a, listen, you have to learn to elevate yourself for you and only you first. Now, don't be confused. I'm not saying that you can't have other people be your motivation. They can be your motivation to keep going, but it really has to be for you, because when you start to do things for other people, you start to do things again to make them proud. But when we're on this journey to self-awareness, we are elevating ourselves for ourselves. You have to learn to become a person that you admire, that you respect, that you can look at and say, girl, you was smart, you was kind, you was loyal. Like on, was that The Help? Viola Davis's line. But elevating yourself is so essential to do for yourself. Because like I said in the other episode, you got to learn how to grind like you the only one that got you, regardless of support. Because that is when you're able to lock in and focus. That's when you have a no matter what type of attitude and know where it comes from. Okay? And so when you're able to elevate yourself in whatever capacity, mind, body, spirit, communication, when you're able to do that consistently and habitually, your level of elevation becomes infinite. If you are consistently working at a level that meets your need and your standards, if you are constantly doing things that serve you, that feel good to you, that make sense to you in your journey, the ways in which that you elevate is going to be infinite. If you are always operating in your truth, elevating your mind to be open, you won't have to worry about who's coming or what's going to happen, because you're open to all possibilities, but you are very clear and consistent on why you're doing it for you. Okay? Now, with all of that being said, I am going to leave you all with some questions to think about until the next episode. When we think about elevating ourselves, because I really want you all to sit down and think over these questions. Leave a comment if you are going to do it. If you have done it, come back and let me know how it goes. But the first question that I want to ask you all, or to leave you all as a thought piece, is, why do you want to elevate? Why do you want to elevate your mind? Why do you want to elevate yourself physically? Why do you want to elevate the way that you communicate? What's at stake if you don't? Think about that. So that's like a 2-part question. Why is it that you want to elevate, and whatever those subcategories that you see fit? And what is it going to cost you if you don't? Okay. Next question. Why do you want to, well, I guess those are the same. I was going to say, why do you want to achieve the goals that you want? But I think that first question kind of fills that in. So I'll leave it at that. My question that I want to leave you all with, that I want you all to ponder over, write about, journal, live out, is, why do you want to elevate in whatever way you see fit? Mind, body, soul, spirit, communication, living in honesty, honoring your truth. Why do you want to communicate? And what if you don't? What is at stake if you don't? Okay? I'm challenging y'all to elevate. And keep in mind, the word elevate means to raise to a more important or impressive level. To impress means to make someone feel admiration and respect. And respect is a deep admiration for someone or something that is elicited by their abilities, their qualities, or their achievements. How are you elevating yourself? All right. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.